picture this for a second.
Okay.
It is, it's the middle of the 2025 college football season.
Right.
And the stadium is just absolutely roaring. The lights are blinding. And down on the field, star quarterback Arch Manning is slowly picking himself up off the ground.
Oh, yeah, we all saw it.
Right. He reaches up, grabs his face mask, and literally pulls chunks of artificial turf out of the grill.
Just brutal.
Shaking his head,
Yeah.
Trying to clear the cobwebs. And it was this image that became just uncomfortably familiar last season.
It really was a jarring visual. I mean, especially when you consider the sheer hype and that generational pedigree surrounding him.
Yeah.
You just don't expect to see a marquee player spending half the game literally scraping himself off the turf.
Exactly. Because to be a successful quarterback, to throw those beautiful arcing deep balls and actually lead a team to a championship.
Oh, to stay upright.
Right. You have to stay upright. You need a clean pocket. So today, we're dissecting how an organization takes a unit that was getting their star employee completely leveled and just overnight turns it into the most dominant force in their industry.
It's a huge shift.
It really is. We are sifting through a massive stack of sources today. We've got sports journalism articles, transfer portal rankings, NFL draft profiles.
It works.
Yeah, all of it, to explore this monumental organizational shift. For you listening, our mission for this deep dive is to look at how the Texas Longhorns completely overhauled their offensive line for 2026. They took this glaring physical weakness and transformed it into what Sports Illustrated now ranks as the absolute #1 offensive line in the SEC.
What's fascinating here is how the mechanics of team building in college football have they've fundamentally changed.
Yeah, really.
Because if you look back even just a decade ago, fixing a broken offensive line was this agonizingly slow, multi-year process.
You had to draft and develop, right.
Exactly. You had to recruit high school kids, stick them in the weight room for 3 years, feed them 6 meals a day, and basically just pray they developed into SEC caliber athletes.
Right.
But today, the landscape is entirely different. It is all about rapid triage.
Okay, rapid triage. I like that.
Yeah, it's about identifying a fatal flaw and using the transfer portal to surgically fix it in a single offseason. I mean, you simply do not have 3 years to wait when you have a generational talent at quarterback whose window is, well, it's right now.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand the cure, we really have to look closely at the illness.
Right.
To grasp why this 2026 rebuild was an absolute emergency, we need to talk about the grim reality of 2025. Arch Manning was sacked 23 times last season.
Man, 23.
23. He was the third most pressured quarterback in the entire SEC. His job description essentially included, scrambling for his life on every other drop back.
And we really have to talk about what pressure actually means in this context.
Yeah, please do.
Because it isn't just about the physical hits, though, obviously, those take a massive toll on a human body over a season.
Oh, sure.
It's about the psychological clock.
Right.
When a quarterback is constantly under duress, his internal timer just speeds up artificially.
Like he's hearing footsteps.
Exactly. He starts anticipating the hit before it even happens. So he rushes his throws, he skips over his secondary reads, he forces the ball into tight coverage because his brain is basically screaming, get rid of it.
Right, right.
So the fact that he was the third most pressured quarterback is just a glaring indictment of the 5 guys standing in front of him.
And the sources give us a really crucial, just illuminated piece of context here from 24/7 Sports.
Yeah, this is a crazy stack.
It really is.
Yeah.
The only 2 SEC quarterbacks who were pressured more than Manning last season were Talon Green and Lenora Sellers. And here's the kicker for you guys listening. Those 2 quarterbacks led teams that posted a combined 6-18 record. 6-18. That tells me Manning was out there surviving entirely despite his offensive line, not because of it.
He was absolutely elevating a broken system. I mean, if you take an average run-of-the-mill quarterback and drop him behind that 2025 Texas offensive line,
they're doomed.
Yeah, the Longhorns are probably a sub-500 team. The offensive line was essentially holding the entire offensive operation hostage.
To me, that sounds less like a football team and more like a submarine hull.
Okay, a submarine.
Yeah, you can have the strongest steel in the world, you can have 4 all-star crew members doing their jobs flawlessly, but if there's just one tiny leak, one faulty valve that keeps giving way, the whole ship implodes. It doesn't matter how good the rest of the unit is if one guy keeps getting beat.
That's a great way to look at it, but the difference is, the pressure underwater is uniform and constant.
Right.
In football, Defensive coordinators are like sharks actively hunting for that one faulty valve.
Oh, they smell the blood.
They absolutely do. If they spot a weak link on your line, they won't just test it occasionally. They will scheme every blitz, every stunt, which is, where defensive linemen intentionally cross paths to confuse the blockers.
Right.
They'll use every isolation play to exploit that specific player until the hull completely breaches. And usually, a leaky hull on an offensive line starts on the extreme edges.
Out at the tackles.
Yep, the tackles.
Because they have the hardest job physically, right? I mean, they're out on an island.
Exactly. The tackles are positioned on the outside, which means they are dealing with the fastest, most athletic edge rushers in the game.
The freaks of nature.
Yeah. Guys who are 250 pounds but run like wide receivers. That is the most vulnerable point of the pocket. Which perfectly explains why Texas head coach Steve Sarkisian and offensive line coach Kyle Flood started their 2026 rebuild right out on the edges.
Okay, so let's talk about sealing those edges. Because the biggest acquisition of the offseason wasn't actually someone they brought in from the outside.
Right.
It was a retention. Left tackle Trevor Goosby.
A huge retention.
Massive. This guy is a mountain of a human being. 6'7", 312 pounds.
Unbelievable size.
Right. And he had the option to enter the NFL draft, where the sources indicate he was highly touted. But he opted to return. Dave Campbell's Texas Football ranks him as the #1 returning offensive tackle in Texas. And he posted an 83.3 overall PFF grade.
Yeah, and for anyone unfamiliar with that metric, Pro Football Focus, or PFF, is this analytics group that basically watches every single piece of film.
Every single snap.
Right, and they grade every microscopic movement a player makes on a 100-point scale. So an 83.3 for a tackle is outstanding.
It's elite.
Exactly. Retaining Goosby is the undisputed linchpin of this entire operation. In the modern era, keeping a surefire pro at left tackle, the guy protecting the right-handed quarterback's blind side where he literally cannot see the defender coming.
Yeah.
It's incredibly rare, but it really speaks to the new reality of college football.
You're talking about the financial aspect, aren't you?
Precisely. Name, image, and likeness money, or NIL, means these players are effectively compensated professionals now.
Right.
A decade ago, a guy with Goosby's draft grade leaves for the NFL 100 times out of 100 to get paid.
You can't blame them.
You can't. But today, programs have the financial infrastructure to say, hey, stay one more year, develop your skills, and you won't lose out financially.
Wow.
But an elite left tackle is only half the equation.
Right. You need the other side.
Because on the other side, at right tackle, Texas brought in Melvin Siani. He's a transfer from Wake Forest. And his numbers from last year are just staggering.
Hear him.
He played 914 snaps and allowed 0 sacks.
Wait, really? 0?
0, across over 900 snaps. So when you pair Goosby and Siani, you instantly construct the SEC's strongest tackle tandem.
Okay, wait, I need to jump in here.
Yeah.
Because the PR spin from the team sounds great, right?
Sure.
But I'm not buying it wholesale. The sources explicitly mentioned that Goosby underwent recent shoulder surgery, and he completely missed winter and spring practice.
He did.
Now, the team says there's no quote-unquote long-term concern, but come on. We just established that an offensive line is a 5-man organism.
Yeah, they have to work together.
They have to move perfectly in sync, breathe together, pass off twisting defensive linemen without even speaking. Isn't missing months of spring reps a massive red flag for a unit that desperately needs to build chemistry to protect their star quarterback?
It is a totally valid concern. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, in a normal year, with a young, inexperienced group, missing your anchor for the entire spring would be a massive red alert.
Okay.
But this is exactly why understanding roster construction is so vital. Why did Texas go out and get a guy like Siani in the transfer portal?
To fill the gap.
It's specifically to mitigate this exact kind of risk.
Because he doesn't need a learning curve.
Exactly. Having a hyper-experienced veteran like Siani on the right side takes an immense amount of pressure off Goosby.
Makes sense.
Siani has played nearly 1,000 snaps. He has seen every blitz package, every stunt, every defensive look imaginable. He doesn't need his hand held while Goosby gets back up to speed.
Right.
And more importantly, Siani's arrival at right tackle triggers this massive structural shift for the rest of the line. It actually solves the chemistry problem by allowing everyone else to play their natural positions.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. It's like replacing a load-bearing wall in a house, or like a sliding puzzle.
A sliding puzzle is perfect.
Right. When you install a massive steel beam on the right edge, which is Siani, suddenly the internal framework doesn't have to carry weight it wasn't designed for.
Exactly.
So take Brendan Baker. He started 13 games at right tackle for Texas in 2025. And he's big, 6'4", 308 pounds. But because Siani is now locking down that edge, Baker gets to slide inside to play guard. And the sources point out that guard is a vastly more natural fit for his physical frame.
And we really need to explain why that positional shift is so crucial for you guys listening.
Yeah, go ahead.
Playing tackle out on the edge requires incredible lateral quickness. You are essentially backpedaling and mirroring a speed rusher in open space.
It's a footwork game.
Right. It's like a heavyweight boxer trying to dance with a middleweight.
Okay, I can picture that.
Playing guard, on the other hand, is like getting into a fist fight in a phone booth.
Oh, man.
There is no open space. It is immediate hand-to-hand combat the second the ball is snapped, usually against a 330-pound defensive tackle.
Or in the trenches.
It's entirely about leverage, anchoring your weight, and sheer power. Baker was a good tackle, but his body type and his raw power make him a potentially devastating guard.
So it's a win-win.
Exactly. By bringing in Siani, you didn't just upgrade the right tackle spot.
Yeah.
You simultaneously upgraded the left guard spot by moving Baker without even having to recruit a new guard. It's a brilliant, highly efficient organizational move.
It's like a corporate restructuring, where you hire an external specialist, which finally allows your best internal employee to stop covering two jobs.
Right.
And just go back to what they actually excel at. But you know, they didn't stop there.
No, they didn't.
They went out and brought in Lawrence Seymour to play right guard. He's a Western Kentucky transfer and a second-team All-American.
A huge get.
Yeah. This guy allowed just one sack in over 650 pass-blocking snaps over the last 2 years.
Incredible numbers.
So now you have Baker at left guard, Seymour at right guard, and a returning veteran, Connor Robertson, at center.
Right, and Robertson is the player who stepped in mid-season last year and finally provided some much-needed stability to the middle of the line right over the football.
So the middle is locked down.
Yeah, so look at what you have built. You've got a veteran center calling out the blocking assignments before the snap, flanked by two incredibly stout guards who excel in that phone booth combat. And that's all capped off by two elite tackles protecting the edges.
It sounds perfect on paper.
It does. But we do have to acknowledge a critical flaw noted in the sources.
Okay, what is it?
Last year, this group was absolutely killed by penalties.
Oh, right. The flags.
Yeah. False starts, holding calls that just wiped out massive game-changing plays.
Which is really just a lack of discipline.
It is. And that lack of discipline ruins offensive drives just as quickly as a quarterback sack does.
Really?
But the advantage they have this year is time. Because this starting five is essentially set so early in the offseason, Sarkisian and Flood can dedicate all of fall camp purely to reducing those flags.
So they can focus on the mental game.
Exactly. They aren't scrambling to figure out who is starting. They are refining the mental discipline of the guys they already have.
Well, I hear that, but I'm looking at this architectural blueprint we just built, and there's a major permit missing.
I know where you're going with this.
Lawrence Seymour, right, that elite right guard from Western Kentucky.
Yep.
The sources note he is currently waiting on a 6th-year eligibility waiver from the NCAA to even be allowed to play.
That is the elephant in the room.
Right. And we all know the NCAA administrative process can be incredibly opaque, completely unpredictable. If they deny that waiver, does this entire load-bearing wall just collapse? Do we go right back to a leaky submarine hull?
It is the multi-million-dollar question hovering over the program right now. If Seymour's waiver is denied, it definitely disrupts the master plan.
Obviously.
But this is where the sheer depth of this rebuild reveals itself.
Okay, how so?
The sources note that if Seymour can't go, Texas has Dylan Sikorsky, an Oregon State transfer with significant starting experience.
Oh, nice.
Or Jadon Chapman, a redshirt junior, ready to step right in.
So they have backups ready.
Exactly. Is it a downgrade from an All-American? Certainly, but it isn't a cliff dive. The internal structure might groan a bit under the weight, but it shouldn't breach, primarily because that Guspi-Siani tackle tandem is still out there protecting the most critical, vulnerable areas on the edges.
Okay, that makes sense. They engineered a safety net into the roster.
Okay.
But let's shift gears from the immediate to the future, because we've talked a lot about the transfer portal and free agency band-aids. But if you are running a business, you don't build a sustainable dynasty just by renting top-tier talent for 12 months at a time.
No, you can't. You need a foundation.
Exactly. You have to build a culture from the ground up. You need grassroots recruiting and internal development. And the sources highlight a 2026 high school recruit who absolutely embodies the new aggressive mentality of this offensive line room.
Nicholas Robertson?
Yes, Nicholas Robertson.
His trajectory over the last year is quite literally a scout stream.
It's wild. He went from being completely unranked, like not even a blip on the radar for most major recruiting services.
Where to be found.
Right. To shooting all the way up to number 153 in the Rivals 300.
That's a massive leap.
It is. And he did it by showing up at the Under Armour All-American game, which is basically an all-star game for the best high school players in the country, and he absolutely dominated five-star defensive linemen.
Just manhandled them.
Yeah. The kid is 6'4" and 351 pounds.
Just a tank.
And his quote from the sources tells you everything you need to know about the psychological shift happening in Austin.
I love this quote.
He said, "I like to hit you straight in the mouth any chance I get."
Yeah.
That isn't finesse. That is old school, nasty trench warfare mentality.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, that attitude, that demand for aggressive physical dominance is exactly the standard Texas is trying to permanently reestablish.
Setting a tone.
Exactly. And they have very recent, very lucrative proof of concept to show these young recruits.
Right, the draft.
Yeah, look at Kelvin Banks Jr. He was a Texas tackle who was just drafted 9th overall by the New Orleans Saints in the 2025 NFL Draft.
9th overall, wow.
And while at Texas, he won the Outland Trophy and the Lombardi Award as the nation's absolute best lineman. That is the NFL standard that Texas is now selling. When a 351-pound true freshman like Nicholas Robertson walks into the football facility, he isn't just hoping to be good enough to start. He is stepping into a room where the baseline expectation is literal greatness.
But, okay, think about the psychology of that locker room for a second.
Okay.
How on earth does a manager, or in this case, offensive line coach Kyle Flood, handle that dynamic?
It's tough.
Right. On one side of the room, you have Lawrence Seymour, a 60-year veteran transfer who has played thousands of college snaps, seen every defense, and is fighting for his final shot at the NFL. On the other side, you have Nicholas Robertson, a 351-pound, incredibly raw, hyper-aggressive teenager who just wants to hit people in the mouth.
Right.
Are those two guys collaborating? Like, is it a mentor-mentee dynamic where the veteran teaches the rookie? Or is it just a vicious daily competition for survival on the depth chart?
It has to be both.
Yeah.
It really does. And navigating that tension is the true genius of a great positional coach.
Balancing the two.
Exactly. You have to leverage the veteran's vast experience to teach the freshman the critical nuances of the game. You know, how to watch film effectively, how to identify a twisting defensive line before the snap.
The technical stuff.
Right. How to set your feet so you don't lose your balance against a faster player. But simultaneously, you use the freshman's raw, hungry aggression to light a fire under the veteran.
Ah, I see.
When a sixth-year senior sees a 351-pound teenager trying to physically take his job every single afternoon in practice, he can't afford to take a single rep off.
No way.
It creates a crucible environment. Iron sharpens iron. The entire culture of the room shifts from, trying not to mess up and get yelled at to competing violently to dominate the guy across from you.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Whether you manage a corporate team, run a small business, or you just love the granular details of college football, this deep dive is really a masterclass in brutally honest self-evaluation.
It absolutely is.
Texas didn't hide behind excuses for 2025. They looked at a fatal flaw, a glaring organizational weakness that literally had their star employee, Arch Manning, picking turf out of his teeth and risking serious career-altering injury.
Yeah.
And they aggressively attacked it. They audited their vulnerabilities and used every single tool available in the modern landscape.
It's no stone unturned.
Exactly. They used retention to keep an elite asset like Gooseby. They used the transfer portal to acquire highly proven specialists like Siani and Seymour to fix immediate structural leaks. And they used grassroots recruiting to build a sustainable, aggressive future with players like Robertson. They looked at their biggest liability and engineered it into the SEC's best asset.
They executed a perfect organizational turnaround. But here's the final thought I want to leave you with, and it's something that completely shifts the paradigm for the upcoming season.
All right, lay it on us.
If this offensive line truly is the best in the SEC, if they have perfectly sealed the submarine hull, if the architectural reinforcements hold, and Arch Manning suddenly has a flawlessly clean pocket and all day to scan the field,
Yeah.
it strips away every single excuse.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think of that.
Right. The pressure doesn't actually disappear. It just transfers.
Just shifts to him.
Exactly. Last year, Manning could be easily forgiven for a bad throw or a missed read because he had a 260-pound defensive end breathing down his neck half a second after the snap.
Right. Anyone would struggle.
But if the offensive line is perfect, if there is absolutely no turf in the face mask this year, is the entire crushing weight of a national championship now squarely and exclusively on the quarterback's shoulders.
Yeah.